aboard, everybody. Here we go. Let's begin. Now, this is a very interesting concept to talk about, and in order to understand this, it is perhaps appropriate to start with an overview of human anatomy and physiology. And don't worry, there will be no test. This is the human digestive tract. Looking at it kind of, from the outside in. This, of course, is your throat. This is the pipe that goes down from your throat. It's called the esophagus. This is your Adam's apple and your windpipe up here, your larynx. This is the voice box. The voice box is up here. The throat that goes up into your mouth is, a little higher above that. And then this long tube is called the esophagus, And the esophagus empties into the stomach. The esophagus empties into the stomach. This, of course, is the stomach. And then underneath the stomach are the small intestines here, and the colon here. This, of course, being the stomach. And what we're going to mostly talk about tonight is this organ right here, the stomach, which for all intents and purposes is just a great big bag of acid. So let's check it out. This is a cross-sectional view of the stomach. And you see there's a number of things to pay attention to with this particular diagram. The stomach basically is a bag of acid, and that's a good thing. Now, inside the stomach, there's a lining on the wall of the stomach which is impervious to acid. Otherwise, we wouldn't be alive because the acid in the stomach would eat a hole right through the stomach wall and we would die. And by the way, the acidity of the stomach acid when you're healthy is 1.5, 1.6, 1.7, or 2.0 on the pH scale. It's extremely acidic. When your stomach acid is healthy, if you chopped your finger off and swallowed it, your stomach would digest it down to the bone in about 20 minutes. That's how strong the stomach acid needs to be to have healthy digestion. Now, there are two interesting anatomical structures to pay attention to here. These valves right here. This, of course, is your throat. This is the esophagus coming down from the mouth. This is the esophagus coming down from the mouth, and it empties into the stomach. And right where it empties into the stomach, there's a valve. Where it empties into the stomach, there's a valve. And this valve opens and closes depending on what's going on in the stomach. Now, at the other end of the stomach, how about that? There's another valve which opens and closes depending on what's going on in the stomach to let food that's been digested or whatever you just swallowed to be digested into the small intestine. And this, of course, is the main function of the stomach, is to chemically digest whatever it was that you just swallowed, breaking it down into smaller and smaller pieces so that your intestinal tract will have the ability to absorb it into the bloodstream. And this is how nutrition enters the human body. Now, these two valves, I want you to remember because we're going to come back to them. They are very important. One more thing to understand. The stomach has a lining in it which is impervious to stomach acid. The stomach has a lining that's impervious to stomach acid, but the esophagus does not. The esophagus up here does not. So if any of the acid in the stomach gets up here into the throat, you get acid reflux. This is the very definition of acid reflux. We're going to talk about that in a minute. The main thing to understand here is that the throat does not have a protective lining to protect it from acid. The stomach does. Your stomach acid needs to be so acidic, if you sucked the acid out of your stomach and dripped it on your fingertip, it'd burn a hole right through your skin. That's how acidic it needs to be, and the stomach can handle that, but the throat cannot. The esophagus cannot, and this is important, and we're going to come back to this. Now, the acid, the chemicals that are in your stomach, which digest food, collectively are referred to as gastric juice, all right? This is a somewhat less than creative term that biochemists and physiologists dreamed up, gastric juice. This is the main stuff that digests food, and this is how it goes. When you swallow food, the presence of the food in your stomach causes your stomach to expand. That's kind of common sense. When your stomach expands, there are cells in your stomach which secrete a chemical called gastrin. So the stomach expands, and there are cells on the wall of the stomach that secrete a chemical called gastrin. Gastrin, when it's present inside the stomach, makes other cells in the stomach secrete hydrochloric acid and another digestive enzyme called pepsinogen. Has nothing to do with Pepsi or Coke. It's called pepsinogen. Now, when you combine hydrochloric acid and pepsinogen, you get a digestive juice par excellence. The combination of hydrochloric acid and pepsinogen creates a chemical called pepsin, which digests protein and a lot of other things, and gastrin also digests different components of what you ate, and hydrochloric acid also digests different components of what you ate. It's this one big dance, okay? But in the stomach, as in the entire digestive tract, things are capitulated one after the other like dominoes, each knocking the other over. And if you're healthy, each domino gets knocked over and the next stage of digestion happens. If you remove one of those dominoes, the whole house of cards falls apart. If you remove one of the links in that chain, the whole thing gets screwed up. Gastrin is the most important digestive enzyme that we're going to talk about here, but I want you to take a look at this in the meantime. These are 3 test tubes that have chicken, a little piece of chicken in it, each of the test tubes. One test tube just has hydrochloric acid in it. The other test tube just has pepsin in it. And the other test tube has both hydrochloric acid and pepsin. And you can see that the test tube that has both has digested the protein of the chicken completely. This is a very important consideration. The human body is a complex system of interrelated parts. And, you know, the stomach is a microcosmic representation of that. In order for digestion to be complete, in order for your body to suck all of the nutrients out of the food that you just swallowed, a lot of dominoes have to be in place. If there's not enough gastrin, it's not good. If there's not enough hydrochloric acid, it's not good. If there's not enough pepsinogen or pepsin, it's not good. You get partial or no digestion whatsoever, depending upon what you just ate. So this is like, you know, in those old movies, you know, in Shakespeare's time, when the couples are waltzing around on the floor, and there's 25 couples, and they're all waltzing and spinning around each other in this one great big beautiful dance. Well, that's what it's like in your digestive tract. When all of the dancers are dancing, it's a beautiful thing to behold. But imagine if 2 or 3 of the dancers fell down on the floor, things would not be good, right? It would mess the whole thing up. And this is the way that it is in the human digestive tract. Everything has to happen in one giant dance. Gastrin is very important, and we're going to talk about it here right now. Okay, now the first thing that has to happen is you have to swallow food that makes your stomach swell up. When your stomach swells up, your stomach secretes gastrin. Your stomach keeps secreting gastrin until the stomach acid is strong enough. When the stomach acid is strong enough, you stop making gastrin and life is good. So the stomach has a built-in regulating mechanism that when the stomach acid gets to a certain strength, the body doesn't make it any stronger, and, vice versa. When the stomach acid isn't strong enough, the stomach secretes more gastrin to provoke the body to make more hydrochloric acid. This is all one big giant, feedback mechanism. Interestingly enough, one of the things that gastrin also does is it causes one of the valves in the stomach to relax. Too much gastrin causes one of the valves in the stomach to relax. And let's take a look at the picture once more. Remember the esophageal sphincter, or the esophageal valve. This is the valve which closes the top part of the stomach and keeps acid from coming back into the throat. That's a smart thing. Nature is intelligent. But if you do not have enough gastrin, if your stomach acid is weak, your stomach produces more and more and more gastrin. And what does more and more gastrin does? It causes this valve to open. That's not a good thing when you're in the middle of digestion, because when that valve opens, right there, when this valve right here opens up, your stomach spits acid back up into the throat. Here's the valve closed. Acid stays inside the stomach. Here's the valve open. Acid squirts back up into the throat. Now, what causes this to happen? Too much gastrin. What causes too much gastrin? Not enough stomach acid. Not enough stomach acid. Now, what have your MDs told you your entire life? Heartburn is caused by too much stomach acid, right? How is that possible? How is it possible for your stomach to make too much stomach acid? It can't do it. Well, I suppose it could under certain circumstances, but it doesn't do it naturally or normally. It just doesn't do it. It's very, very easy, however, for the body to not have enough of something. So when the body does not have the raw materials necessary to have strong stomach acid, which we'll talk about in a slide or two, the stomach continues to produce gastrin. The gastrin opens the valve at the top of the stomach, and the weak stomach acid that is in there squirts into your throat, and you get heartburn. Game, set, match. The MDs have gotten this completely backwards, 100% backwards. 180 degrees opposite of what is correct. 2 plus 2 does not equal 5. 2 plus 2 equals 4. Stomach acid squirts into the esophagus, causing acid reflux in the presence of not enough stomach acid in the stomach, period. The MDs have gotten this completely backwards, and this is an error of biblical proportions, and I'll tell you why shortly. Now, healthy stomach acid is hydrochloric acid. What's hydrochloric acid made from? Hydrogen and chloride. Well, your body gets hydrogen from water. There's plenty of water in your body. Your body's like 90% water. There's plenty of hydrogen to go around, but where the heck does it get the chloride from? Your body needs chloride to have strong stomach acid. Where's it going to get it? Well, guess what? It gets it from salt. Your stomach gets the chloride that it needs from the salt molecule, because salt is sodium chloride. So it robs the chloride from sodium chloride in salt to have strong stomach acid. So if you're on a salt-restricted diet, you're screwed. There's no way on God's green earth your stomach acid is going to be able to be strong. It's impossible. You can't have a filled-up tire with no air. If there's no air, the tire's going to be flat. If you're on a salt-restricted diet, your stomach acid is going to be weak, period. Now, there's one other player in the game of stomach acid. It's called the chief cells. The chief cells are cells in your stomach that actually squirt out the hydrochloric acid once the body makes it. So if you are, in fact, salting your food so that it tastes good and your body has enough chloride and it's making hydrochloric acid, in order to squirt it out into the stomach, it needs calcium. If you are calcium deficient, it can't squirt it out. This is ironically one of the reasons why Tums works. Because Tums is calcium carbonate. And so when you swallow calcium, the chief cells have calcium, they can squirt out the hydrochloric acid. It makes your stomach more acidic and the valve in the throat closes. Do you see? The MDs got it completely backwards and wrong. Telling you that heartburn is caused by too much stomach acid is like telling you that forest fires are caused by ash. Because the bigger the fire, the more ash there is. It's nonsense. It's a complete misinterpretation of events. And this has catastrophic consequences on our health. I mean, catastrophic consequences on our health. And I'm choosing my words carefully. If you are deficient in calcium, which everybody is, and you're on a salt-restricted diet, you have to have weak stomach acid. You can't not have weak stomach acid. It's par for the course. Weak stomach acid causes too much gastrin to be secreted. Too much gastrin relaxes that valve at the top of the stomach. And when you relax that valve at the top of the stomach, acid squirts up into the throat and you get heartburn. That's how you get heartburn. This is what causes it. This is what causes heartburn. A salt-restricted diet and not enough calcium. A salt-restricted diet and not enough calcium. Now, who put you on a salt-restricted diet? Your medical doctor did. And since we've been following salt-restricted diets here in the United States to help your heart, right? Heart disease has remained unchanged. But antacid use is skyrocketing. It's unbelievable to me how MDs can consistently get stuff wrong. And number one, nobody sees it. And number two, nobody calls them on it. This is a gigantic cultural problem, right? It all goes back to this. When this valve is closed, you're good. When this valve is open, not so good. What opens the valve? Weak stomach acid opens the valve. Period. Now, I learned this in pre-med. Actually, nobody really lined it up for me like this in pre-med, but I was taught physiology of the digestive tract. It's kind of a no-brainer. This is a problem because we believe what the MDs tell us without question. And we need to start questioning authority, quite frankly. Now, okay, very good. Now, heartburn, gastroesophageal reflux, Barrett's esophagus, these are all the same disease, just more and more and more and more and more and more tissue destruction, on top of more and more and more and more and more nutrient deficiencies. It's the same illness, just more of it. But, medical doctors, MDs, are trained to reduce everything, ad absurdum and categorize illnesses into these little cubby holes. So first there was heartburn, and then there was acid reflux, and then there was gastroesophageal reflux, and then there's Barrett's esophagus, and it's just the same stuff, different names for the same thing, in order to make you think that the MD is smarter, more intellectually savvy, more competent than you, knows what's going on when they don't. It's a shell game designed to make you feel intellectually inferior. And guess what? It worked. Because we've bought this one hook, line, and sinker. But don't worry, it gets worse. Now, my colleague, Dr. Wallach, the founder of Youngevity, teaches this. What I'm about to show you is the result of $25 million of federally funded research, 26,000 autopsies, and 10 million blood chemistries and histopathologies. These are the nutrient needs of the human body. In order for your system to work optimally, your body needs 90 essential nutrients to go down the hatch every day. If the 90 essential nutrients do not go down the hatch every day, you develop nutrient deficiencies. The only problem with the 90 essential nutrients is, oh, by the way, this is where the term 90 for life came from in Youngevity. If you hang around Youngevity long enough, you will see the phrase 90 for life, and that's what this refers to. The 90 essential nutrients necessary for life. 60 minerals, 16 vitamins, 12 amino acids, and 2 essential fatty acids. The only problem is, it's impossible to get all of these nutrients from food. You can't do it. It's not just difficult. It's not just improbable. It's impossible, and this is why. The lion's share of your nutrient needs are the minerals, right? 60 of 90, that's 2/3. Only problem with minerals is the only person that can make a mineral is God. Minerals exist in the soil or in the water, but if they're in the water, it's because they wash the air out of the soil. Here's a map of selenium, which is a mineral very much like calcium. It's very important for your health. It has remarkable anti-cancer properties. On this map, if it's pink or reddish, there's a lot of selenium, and the bluer, the yellower, and the bluer, and the grayer you get, you can see the scale there on the left. There's less and less and less selenium. So if you're eating organically grown vegetables harvested by Trappist monks under a full moon while they're chanting, but they're grown here, there ain't no selenium in those vegetables. There's none. So if there's none in the vegetable, there's none in your body when you eat that vegetable. Now remember, there's 60 minerals. This is a map of just one. There are 59 other maps, and they're all different. They're all different. There's no place on the planet where all 60 minerals overlap. Doesn't happen. So I don't care how organic your food is, I don't care. Unless you're supplementing, especially with minerals, your body is nutritionally deficient, period. You're welcome to your own opinions, just not your own set of facts. This is a representation of your body's nutrient needs. If this tank represents the 90 essential nutrients, it needs to be filled to the brim every day. 90 essential nutrients up to the top every day. In reality, this is how much most of us get, less than half. Less than half. And then the stress of life comes rolling in, wears away at our reserves, and this is what most of us are walking around with. We need this much. We've got this much. then things start to break. Dr. Wallach's research, $25 million of federally funded research, 26,000 autopsies, and 10 million blood chemistries later, they proved that the majority of chronic diseases are caused by nutrient deficiencies. The majority of chronic diseases are caused by nutrient deficiencies and are fixed by proper nutrition. So when we're bothered by gastroesophageal reflux, heartburn, or whatever you want to call it, what we do is fill the body's nutritional tank up with the right stuff. And this is the right stuff. The body doesn't just need calcium and chloride. It needs calcium and chloride and 88 other nutrients for a total of 90. If you just give it calcium and chloride, you're going to get a little bit of bounce. But if you give it all 90 essential nutrients, and in the case of severe chronic, like bad, tenacious gastroesophageal reflux or Barrett's esophagus, or even just a bad protracted case of heartburn, you give extra calcium. So the recommendation to support and promote the health of your stomach in the face of a diagnosis of heartburn is to flush your drugs down the toilet. And I'm going to talk about the drugs next. Fill your body's nutritional tank up, and of course, salt your food to taste. Salt your food so that it tastes good with iodized salt. I don't care if it's table salt or sea salt or Himalayan salt or Celtic salt, as long as there's iodine been added to it. You need the iodine. And the cheapest way to get it is with salt. So guess what? I don't care if you've had heartburn for 25 years. You flush your meds and start salting your food and fill your nutritional tank up, it goes away. It'll go away. It won't just get better. It will go away. Because our fundamental supposition is that your body knows how to fix itself. Your body wants to fix itself. The only reason it can't is because you went to these guys. You went to the MDs. And now the MDs are trained in a type of medicine called reductionism. Reductionism argues that the body is a machine made of parts. It does not have the ability to fix itself. And when you're sick, it's the doctor's job to take your body apart into smaller and smaller pieces and then throw a drug at each piece that's broken. So you go to the MD, you get one medicine to your heartburn, one medicine to your high blood pressure, one medicine to your arthritis, one medicine to your diabetes, one medicine for everything, and then 3 medicines to take care of the side effects of all those medicines. This is reductionism. Remember, MDs are not trained in medicine. Nobody is. MDs are trained in a type of medicine called reductionism. And reductionism argues that your body cannot fix itself. That when it's sick, your only option is to manipulate your biochemistry with drugs. And this, of course, is a fool's errand when it comes to heartburn, because they've gotten the cause wrong. And when you get the cause wrong, it's impossible for you to fix anything. And by the way, it may interest you to understand that MDs are not trained in how to fix disease. MDs are trained in how to manage diseases. They never fix heartburn, they manage it. They never fix high blood pressure, they manage it. They never fix arthritis, they manage it until you need a fake knee. And then 3 years later, when that one fails, do they give you your money back? No, you have to get another operation. When it comes to heartburn, the MD's goal is to suppress your stomach acid at all costs. This is the rationale. This is the only thing to do. Suppress the stomach acid, baby. They do that with 2 categories of medicines, antacids and something called proton pump inhibitors. Proton pump inhibitors stop the cells in your stomach from squirting out hydrochloric acid and gastrin. They stop it. It's like they plug up the faucets. Proton pump inhibitors plug up the faucets in your stomach so that even if there is hydrochloric acid there, or gastrin, or pepsin, your body cannot secrete it. The most famous proton pump inhibitors are Nexium and Zantac. Nexium, Zantac, also Prilosec falls into this category. But this is it. Rather than understand that heartburn is caused by too weak stomach acid, MDs throw drugs into your system to obliterate your stomach acid. Eliminate it. Stop it completely. Now remember the dominoes? One knocking over the next, knocking over the next, knocking over the next. Well, if you remove 4 of the dominoes in your stomach with Nexium and Zantac, guess what happens?